Hey guys, Hayz here. This is a video about my Escape from Tarkov settings. A lot of people have asked what my settings are and how they've changed. So these are my current settings right now, and I think these are the best settings that you could use for a very good sort of PC setup. For those that have a decent PC, these are the best settings to use. Obviously, you know, depending on your own hardware and what you use, you could alter a few things, see what you like, see what you don't like, and go with that. Don't forget, I do stream on Twitch from about 10 a.m. UK time. Feel free to come hang out and give it a follow. It's in the description below. Feel free to like or dislike the video if you liked it or disliked it. Leave a comment on what you think about the settings, if there's anything you would change personally, and feel free to subscribe as well for more of these videos in the future. So here are my Tarkov settings. We'll go through each sort of tab and kind of go through which ones are what, and you know why I do what I do, or why I have the selection that I have. Onto game. Obviously, I mean, it's all fairly standard here. There's not much to, to really talk about here. I mean, I think the main ones really, the FOV. FOV is 60. I feel like it's quite a nice sort of balance between like a higher kind of field of view, but also you kind of see in the distance, because as we know, larger field of view makes it so that the center of your screen is like further away and the edges are closer. So it's like a kind of a fisheye effect, kind of like moves it out more, so that the edges of your screen are still kind of close. The middle of your screen is further away, and that's kind of how that works. So I feel like it's kind of like a good balance between not being too kind of too much, but not too little. You know, it's a good balance for me personally. Obviously, you can test it out and see what you like. Graphics here, graphics tab. I'll play on 1440p, standard aspect ratio of 16:9, which is, you know, the normal kind of monitor you have. Full screen mode, always in full screen mode. I've never really used many games in borderless, also because of how I capture my capture card and stuff. It kind of does some weird stuff with the borderless windowed sort of settings, so it doesn't really work out too well for me. So either way, full screen is best, I think, to get the most out of your frames or your PC. Texture quality is on high. It's on like the maximum, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, the maximum. Shadows on not maximum, but you know, high. I quite like a good looking game. Most time when I set up a game, I go through the settings manually. If I'm going to play the game a lot, I'll go through the settings manually and test to see which ones do what I like the look of, and I'll go through them all and customize them to me. I don't copy anyone's settings. These are all my settings that I've done myself. If you want to copy my settings, you can do, but I would recommend doing what I do and just spending 10 minutes, you know, in like an offline raid, just selecting different quality settings, see what that does to your frames, and just keep them on the ones that you like, and then just go with that. Shadows on high, I quite like a good looking game. I guess the shadows were best on high, with the most minimal impact on frames. Object LED quality doesn't really do much for me. I think it's the overall visibility is the one that you change so that you can see things better. Like in the past, when I played a lot of Shoreline, I still do, but you could see from the top floor of West Wing, you could see the extract rock passage, see if it was open, and I think around sort of like, I think it was 2000. You could see it, and then anywhere below that, you couldn't see the green smoke from that distance. That was actually like an advantage to have a higher overall visibility. Obviously, now that's not really a thing. You don't really have that. It's good to, you know, it's good to know that like those things are visible at higher overall visibility. So that's something to note. Anti-aliasing, TAA high, which is on the, I guess, the highest one. FXAA doesn't really do much. I feel like I've tested it. Nothing changes for me. TAA does have an effect. TA high has an even better effect, I feel like. So I've just gone with the high one. I've got a pretty good PC. I've got a i9 12900K and a 3080 graphics card. So obviously my PC is fairly good. It's a pretty good PC. It's all right. So it does handle a lot of these settings very well. So the main reason I use anti-aliasing is to get rid of the jagged edges on like certain objects like grass, bushes, or say for example, you go on Shoreline, there's a lot of like power cables, you know, above where you're walking. Those are like jagged. Some of the fences can get quite jagged, like with jagged edges and stuff. This blurs the edges a bit. They're not as like visibly jarring and jagged. If you've not had this on, you'll notice that there's a lot of like movement on your screen. Even when you're just moving your mouse a bit, things are moving around and like jittering, and it just doesn't look very nice. I do this one because I find it much easier to spot players when there's less movement on my screen. So any other movement is obviously a player or a scav or whatever. You know, I spot players really easily just because of this one setting. There's a few other things that I do, but this is the main thing. Also, due to stream quality as well, helps with improving stream quality to get rid of all the movement, so it's easier on the encoder. So resampling, that's just one time, so 1440p. There's no need to change that. DLSS, I don't need it. It's off. If you need more frames, if you're struggling with frames, I recommend trying DLSS. Same with FSR as well. Obviously, that's for AMD and NVIDIA, you know, depending on what you have. I have those off, don't need those. So HBAO, I have this on max performance. So HBAO stands for horizon-based ambient occlusion. Ambient occlusion, it's in most games really. It just kind of like adds a bit of sort of darkness to the corners of like rooms. So like when walls meet, there's a little sort of like kind of shadows and stuff. Shadowy kind of like effect to maybe your gun or something, you know. So if you're close up to a wall, your gun will have like a shadow kind of encircling it sort of against the wall, and it just adds a bit more sort of depth to the game and a bit more contrast. So kind of like there's darker patches and lighter patches, kind of makes it look better on stream, as well as, you know, I just like the look of it. It just looks nice. SSR, I have it on high and not ultra. Ultra ruins frames completely. I had it on ultra a while ago and it looked great. It looked great. And then I realized, I mean, that changing it to high doesn't change much in terms of the quality, but actually improves frames drastically. SSR essentially is screen space reflections. So on the water, if you turn it on, you'll see the water reflecting back, sort of like what's, I guess, realistic reflections. So from to the water, then to you, like a mirror in a way, like it'll kind of reflect back. Anisotropic filtering. Floors or walls that are like closer to you, I think, have crisper textures, and then as they get further and further away, the textures get blurrier. If you have it off, then that's what will happen. If you have it on, that helps to kind of sharpen the textures further away from you. So moving down the list, we're on the NVIDIA Reflex Low Latency. I have that on and boost. I have an NVIDIA graphics card, so I've got it on because it's supposed to be better for like latency and all that stuff. So it's just one of those things that you can, you know, try if you think it works. Again, like try these settings out, or try your own settings out. Try and test your own settings and see what you like. The sharpness setting, going down here, I used to have this on 1.1. I've changed it back down a bit because I felt like it was a bit too sharp, and also trying to sort of save on stream quality as well, because as we know, the sharpness ruins stream quality. I stream a lot on Twitch, on Tarkov. Lower sharpness helps with stream quality to an extent, obviously. Too low and it'll look really blurry and kind of weird to the viewer, so you want it like a good balance. So going down to the settings at the bottom, these little tick boxes here, I have most of them off. Z-blur, I would love for it to work, but at the moment it's not been working for the past 2 wipes, but it should give you like this kind of this blur, like sort of a depth of field blur for your gun and like the back of your gun and your scope and stuff. When you scope here and it blurs out the, it looks really nice. It looks really nice. Doesn't affect frames at all. I really like it. It's just an aesthetic sort of thing. It just looks nice, so I like it on. High quality color. I don't actually know what this does. I have no idea. I've had it on the whole time it's been on, and I've had no issues. I think I've tried to turn it off and it's not made any difference to me either, so I don't know. Grass shadows, I have these on because I like the contrast between like the sort of patch of grass. So turn grass shadows off. It will affect how the grass looks in terms of the contrast from each patch of grass. You might find that having it off, it'll just be like a green sheet of like floor, just grass, and you don't really see much kind of depth in it. There's no depth to the grass. It's just like a sheet of grass, and also it's awful for stream quality. Trust me when I say this. If you stream Tarkov, turn on grass shadows, please turn on grass shadows. It is painful to watch. Combining that with the HBAO that we have here, turning that on as well, also adds a lot more shadowy sort of contrast, depth of field to it. Moving on to post effects, we have, I don't have that much in terms of change. Haven't changed much at all. All I've got is a bit of clarity. Kind of helps with kind of popping out certain objects, like popping out like textures. It more so just brings out the brighter areas and kind of makes it a bit brighter. As I said, try it out for yourself if you don't want post effects. I didn't actually have post effects on for a while because it kind of drops your frames a bit. Like if you have it on, it's on and that's it. You know, it drops your frames. If you have it off, it doesn't drop your frames. So depends on your hardware. Again, if you struggle with frames, turn it off, I'd recommend. So I have colorfulness on 30 as well, just to give a bit more sort of, saturation, just, a bit of the color boost, because as we know, Tarkov can be quite sort of bland and very kind of dull, and everything else on post effects I don't have on. Some people use some different color gradings, all that stuff. I don't need that. Nothing crazy there. Controls, scroll through them for you if you want to. There's one that actually I would recommend as well, which is quite a nice little thing to change. The one thing I change is the healing button. So like your quick bar. So what I've got is I've got slot 4 and 5 on both number 4. So if I press 4, it activates both these. But I've got number 4 on press and number 5, which is 4, on release. So what I do is I have my heavy bleed, so my hemostat or whatever, on my press on 4. And then I have my light bleed or my heal or my Salewa on release 4. That means if I have any bleeds at all, means that I just press one button and it heals any bleeds that I have, whether it's a heavy bleed, light bleed. What I do here, see here, I've got 4 and 4 on both my hemostat and Salewa, and then 5 my Propital. What you can do is you can press, so I'll just get rid of these, right? So you press 4 and then I hold it, drag over to Salewa and then release. And see that says 4 as well now. Press is heavy bleed. And then if there's no heavy bleed, the Salewa will then do its thing and heal your light bleed instead. So yeah, the heavy bleed will always go first. And it's a really good sort of little tip that I learned from other people. So yeah, going back to the controls here. In terms of mouse sensitivity, I run a 0.31 on my normal mouse sensitivity when I'm looking around without aiming down sight. Aiming down sight is 0.24. That's just to give me a bit more control when it comes to aiming down sight. It's a bit slower. I can kind of like control my movements more and flick better. I also run on a 800 DPI. I changed from 400 DPI to 800 DPI when I got a 1440p monitor, because I felt like 400 was a bit too slow for just general use for like 1440p monitors. So I changed it to 800 and it's been fine ever since, and I've had no issues with it. So those are my settings for Escape from Tarkov. Again, if you guys want to sort of try things out or test things, I recommend it. Obviously, testing for your own PC and your own setup is definitely recommended. So please let me know in the comments below what you think. What kind of settings do you run? I'm curious to see what people run these days. I quite like a mixture between decent frames and a good-looking game, trying to sort of min-max it for my stream quality as well. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.